Hello, everyone. I had to start things off by listening to the OST of My Sweet Mobster. That's how much I liked it. Hello from Canada. Hello, and I see someone from Canada. Where are you guys calling from? I see someone from I know from Toronto, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Oh my goodness, I love it. So sometimes, not sometimes, the OSTs are really important. And this particular one, just like a lot of them, but you know how some just, you play it and you just immediately, it triggers some sort of like mood or serotonin or endorphins. And that's why I had to play it, because I really like the song. And then it's really fun to play when you're driving. So welcome to my live deep dive on My Sweet Mobster. For a second I was like, hello, My Sweet Mobster, and maybe briefly on Serendipity's Embrace if we have time. Hi from San Francisco and New York. I love it. Keep telling me where you're calling in from. So I'm going to actually start going a little bit through your questions, which are really good. And I only grabbed, I would say, 5. And then I'll go through my deep dive too. Hello from NC, Chicago. Yay. Anyone from Europe? Curious. Oh, it's about midnight over there. Kentucky. Okay, so I hopefully won't spoil it if you're still watching it. Illinois, hello. But I have to talk about it. I was going to try to wait a week, but then I'm traveling, and it deserves a live deep dive because I really liked it. So listen, you guys. We are in August of 2024. I'm not going to quite declare it yet. No, don't sign up yet. I'll let you know if I have to give a spoiler. I will say it's my favorite this year. Everyone's like, what? Now, when it comes to the writing, there's lots of other better ones, like Queen of Tears, Lovely Runner. There's so many good ones, right? But My Sweet Mobster hit me at the right time. Let me tell you how it started from you guys. I asked you guys a simple question, what are you watching? And everyone's like, I think most of you had listed My Sweet Mobster. I'm like, what? What is My Sweet Mobster? I hadn't heard of it. And sure enough, I looked it up one day after we came back from Korea. I had time to binge. I binged it with my husband, 8 episodes. I remember this. You might recall that I talked about it. And I was like, what is this wonderful drama? Because again, let me turn off my, my notifications. Lovely, lovely, lovely drama that hit me in all the right notes. And sometimes, and this is one of your questions, how come some dramas hit us while others hit us not so in such good ways? So why do some K-dramas grab a hold of me and others don't? That's true. So some K-dramas, like some of ones that you guys are watching, like Red Swan, I started it, I was like, again, I love those 2 actors, but I wasn't quite in the mood for that. So it depends on your mood. And it's totally fine if you don't want to watch something. I stopped it. I was like, I don't have time. I really got to just focus on My Sweet Mobster and watch what I want to watch. So some things won't hit you the right way. Also, by the way, give yourself at least 2 to 3 episodes to get used to something. Because there are times when I will watch something and I'll be like, what is this? And then it's by like episode 2. My Mister, I think, took me 3 episodes. And it's my favorite. It's still my all-time favorite. And it just took me some time. My Sweet Mobster, no, I was like hooked within first 10 minutes. So I knew right away that I would have to binge it. And I was like, we're going to sit and finish this until we're caught up. That's how good it was for me. So that says, okay, let me go through my top 6 points while I answer your questions to this drama. My Sweet Mobster, first of all, you know the Korean term is the woman who plays. So when you talk about My Sweet Mobster, that term, the translation's not in there. So I was trying to figure this out, going interesting. But I guess honestly, it made sense. But the women that I would have thought My Sweet Mobster and the woman that plays would have been a good title too. But the reason why I look at titles is you're trying to figure out what it's about, and then you're trying to figure out the whole mentality behind the Korean and the webtoon, right, that it started out and why the title was called that. And I feel like the title, because it's My Sweet Mobster, shifted the focus on the male lead. Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed the male lead. Did you not know that by now? Yeah. My feed still shows all his stuff. He's going to be on You Kids on the Block, which is one of my favorite shows. I love watching all the stars on. So I'll be watching that later. By the way, he's extremely shy. So if you're like me, you kind of look into your actors and what they're like. Yeah. And you look into their MBTI. Do you look into their MBTIs? I do. Look into everything. He is super shy. I can't think of another actor that's that shy. There's a lot of those that are introverted, but he's like introverted, and super shy and awkward. And sometimes watching, you're like, oh my God, you're so awkward with him. But that's kind of cool. It tells you about the acting. And if you haven't watched his movies, he's in a lot of famous movies as well. So that's probably where you recognized him. But this hit all the right notes. Loved his character. Let's talk about number one. I'll start with the number 6 reason of why I love this K-drama and why I recommend it for your mental health. Number 6. It exudes cheesiness. Okay, so it is over the top at times. I don't mean makjang style, like crazy, over the top, dramatic, dark, that kind of thing. No, I mean over the top of cheesiness, oozing with all the like, oh my gosh, that is so silly. But sometimes we need that. And I think it's fun to see. And it reminds me of the old school K-dramas that used to be like that. Particularly Sojiwan's character would show a mobster style. Then he would freak out and do something hilariously funny with the female lead, right? Or do something on the side or look super awkward trying to show her that he liked her. That, my friends, is what I'd say is fun to watch. It's kind of old school in that sense. We don't see that as much. I love it. And that's what I mean by the cheesiness, which is classic Korean K-drama style from like the 90s. And overall, it's a comfortable, easy watch. So nothing really triggering. So there's times that, like My Mister, I'll recommend it, but not everybody really likes to watch it because it's melancholy or it can be triggering. This one here doesn't have something too triggering. There are some mobster fight scenes, yes. A little dark at moments, but overall, the tone of the K-drama was very light. Sometimes a little less light, but not really dark, if that makes sense, because I think overall the theme was hopeful. I thought that's what I love about it. The theme of this My Sweet Mobster overall was very hopeful and fun. So that's 6. 5, I absolutely love the second lead. So there are times when you're like, oh, the second lead should be with, when I say second lead, I'm sorry, the prosecutor, right? Technically the prosecutor, there was a whole side story of that other cute couple that we absolutely loved. But I'm talking about the second lead who also liked the female lead. And I loved his character. And I also loved his relationship with the female lead that shifted obviously to friendship because that's what she wanted and that's what he wanted for her. But I also loved his relationship to the male lead. Sojiwan, just they become friends, right? And I love that. So I had to point him out, and I thought he was a terrific, a man of integrity, and you saw that. And so that's good to see too. You know, sometimes you see those prosecutors being jerks, or the second lead kind of, you know, what's that word? Pouting, right? And you don't mind that because they're cute, but he didn't do that. So it was very mature on that level, which I liked and kind of appealed to me. And so that's the second reason why I loved it. This is the whole thing of a K-drama is the central love story. Yes. And some folks, I saw some of your remarks going, okay, they didn't really have chemistry. Well, I think they did, but it was different. It might have not been that super lovey, passionate kind. It was, this is what I mean by it exuded the old school classic K-drama. It reminded me of the late 90s, early 2000 K-dramas where it was a little bit restrained, but the passion and love was there. And I really liked that relationship. What I love is that they started off their relationship, if you think back to the poignancy of it, in childhood, the childhood trope, right? They knew each other since they were little, and they met each other's needs then through play. So the woman that plays, she is a children's content creator, which is another reason that I love the show. You don't really see that. That's fun. You saw the things she did, but they met through playing. They were both lonely. She talked about it. He talked about it at separate times of what they did for each other. And then they met, right, as adults. And of course, it was fate and all that stuff, coincidence, all the things that you know in a K-drama. But I love that it came through play. And I love that he actually fell in love with her through her play videos. Do you remember that? Basically, watching her in action, interacting with the kids is what hit him. So in some sense, it hit his, if we're going to talk inner child, the inner child, which I don't really talk about, but overall, you know, he didn't really have a childhood. I think it was stripped of him when he turned 13. He indicated that his dad, he went to his dad because his mother died. So that might be a spoiler, but not too much of a spoiler, but his mother died. And so he had no choice but to go to his dad, or his dad kind of took him under his wing in his mob sense. But overall, going back to that central love story, I love the poignancy of the play. It's centered on play. children through children's programming, making children laugh, meeting their needs. Mom shared in the K-drama how Unna's character was met her as a busy single mom, and her daughter had fun through Unna's children's videos. I love that kind of stuff, right? So that's really neat to see. And so that's how their love story was centered on, and I love that. Just making sure I'm not missing any comments. Okay, and I love that. Oh, here it is. Okay, so top 2 themes. Redemption. You guys know. That's a lot of what you guys indicated. Second chance. How do you pivot from the life you had? And that was one of the questions, and I'm going to answer that as I talk about redemption. And so, first of all, you have to believe in second chances. Like I say, you have to for hope, for hopefulness. You have to believe in it for the sake of your mental health. Or why would you not want to live that way? Does that make sense? Like, when I don't mean second chance as in you're going to turn over a new leaf and that's how it's going to look. No, some people want to turn over a new leaf, and that's what Sejuan did. But not everybody needs to do that. But you have to believe that change can happen, and you are in control of that change. And so when someone asks me the question, what does it take to have that responsibility that Sejuan did to change his life? Well, he intentionally worked hard at it. There are moments when you see, he started a company, he started a company for ex-convicts. And he says that. So that's why in some sense they talk about it throughout the Brotherhood, which I'll get to in a second, about just how they were ostracized, or how they knew that, and they were creating children's sausages. And I think it was only not for children, but that's where they kind of headed towards because of Unna and just everything that was going on. It's kind of neat that they shared who would buy children's sausages from a company that employs ex-convicts. But I hear about that in real life. Not necessarily these big, like Fortune 500 companies, but nonprofits who have these workplaces for people like that, because they do deserve a second life once they're out of jail or prison or whatever that is. Everyone deserves that, And so that's actually the work I do. Why do I do the work I do, which is providing change? Or if you're coming to me because you want the people come to me to change their life, to better their life, to better their relationships. No one comes to me and says, by the way, my relationships are good, I'm just here. No, they're coming for change to, in some sense, create a better life for themselves or the life they want to live. So it's very intentional. Sejuan even says toward the very end when he's talking to one of the mobster guys, I invited you to come. And the guy's like, it seems like it's such a pain, it's such a hassle. I didn't want to deal with that. So that's his choice. But Sejuan's like, no, it's not. It's not a hassle or it's a pain. It's difficult. It's challenging. I thought that was a really good thing to say. He said it in Korean. It came out so much better in Korean in the sense of it's hard, it's challenging. And he said it like that. Not like, yeah, it's super hard and I don't want to do it. No, it's challenging. But he indicated that's the life he wants to live. So he took his time to take that responsibility to change his life. And he even told that to his dad. I had to see that scene again today, episode 13, when he told his dad, listen, I'm not going to live the life you lived. And the dad's like, well, we're blood. So that is on to my other topic of family. All you guys mentioned it too. The topic of chosen family. Hello from Oklahoma, I just saw you. The topic of chosen family. Did you know that I had someone on my tour in April say that to me? Meaning, this is our chosen family. Jeannie, you're our chosen family. How touching is that? So in the field of psychology, in my field of family systems, family therapy, the definition of a family is two or more people, not one, two or more persons that either cohabitate, married, commitment relationship, adopted, living together is a family. That's two or more people. So 2 people is a family. So that's what it could look like, right? It does say blood. It can be blood, but it doesn't say it must be blood. And so it's really important to decide how you define family. Today, as a family therapist, I've seen all sorts of families, from blended to adopted to transracial to, friends, and people even saying, oh, this is my sister. And then I'll find out later, oh, it's not their real sister or blood sister, but they refer to each other as sisters because that's how close they are. That is what means to be a chosen family. What you choose, how you're going to choose to live with the family you want to live. Sometimes the family we're born into isn't the best, right? Sometimes it is, and you also have other people that you consider family. Best friends, colleagues. So in this relationship, this is actually what I wanted to tell you. Now, you heard me mention it helped Seo-ji-won survive over the years. You can only imagine how it's hard. Just imagine, because I imagine, it must have been hard. He left at 13, was under his dad's wing, then had his dad go to jail, basically ratted on his dad to get him out of his life, as he said. It wasn't to take the easy way out. He's like, I needed you out of my life. I did not want this life. So he did the right thing, put his dad in jail and says all this, and then lives the life he wants to live and works hard at it, starts a company knowing how hard it is for others, right? So and there's a scene with the women in the butcher warehouse or the meat warehouse where they're talking about how thankful they are. I love all of that. I was eating all that up. That's like chosen family. Even there's an example of chosen family in the workplace, can be your family. By the way, you spend so much time at the workplace. Very important to find who you're going to choose to spend time with at the workplace, right? So that's also your chosen family. So I love that concept. Families come in all shapes, sizes, forms. There is the traditional, yes. And I would say my nuclear family might be traditional. But that doesn't always work, and sometimes your nuclear family becomes your chosen family because your extended family may not be the family you want. Does that make sense? Yes, blood is strong, and that is very important to point out, and I'm going to answer this question right here. The concept of how did Seo-ji-won protect his father? Here's a spoiler alert, guys. How did he protect his father? Take a stab wound for his father, even though his father wasn't the type of father he wanted? That is a very good question. It's a question I see actually play out in therapy sessions, in workshops. I hear it all the time. Even people coming from difficult, I would say tragic circumstances of abusive homes. There is a complicated emotion. Remember I talked about dialectics, the opposites, these opposite polar emotions that kind of are like magnetic forces and they're repelling. So you can have love and hate, and hate, and distant love. Does that make sense? And so that's what I'm thinking of, an abusive home, which is very difficult to talk about. But at the end of the day, at the core of it, the adult child or children or young children still feel that torturedness of what may look like love for that parent that may have abused them. So I see that. Do you know what I mean? It's not simple. I actually don't like when people say, yeah, cut them out. I will say it after some time, and you've heard me say that, it may make sense, but it doesn't come right out of my mouth because I hear somebody being abused. It's very, very complicated. So even in that scene, I actually didn't see that coming. I actually thought that the bad guy, the cute little bad guy who was in Crash Landing and like Vincenzo and a lot of the shows that you love, Ko Young-hee, by the way, his name Ko Young-hee, yeah, cat. Yeah, I figured you know what that meant, but I just have to. Some of this was so funny, their names, but the fact that I thought he was gonna go straight for Seo-ji-won, just like immediately, not the dad. So I didn't see that coming, where the son protected his father. Again, he saw it play out. He knew it was gonna happen, and that was an instinct. I don't think he even had time to think. So sometimes you have that instinct, depending on who you're with. I mean, it's a no-brainer for people who are parents or people, loved ones. You'll do that. You'll take a stab wound, right, if you see it coming. But I think that's what it was like for him, a natural instinct. And he never said he hated his father. It was he hated the life his father lived. And at that final scene, spoiler alert, the final scene, I'm going to answer this question here, how it ended between the father and son, I thought it was perfect. The father seemed cold, but that's how he was the whole time. But he let his son go. And so that totally made sense. And that's how I read it right away. And then I saw some of your responses. I'm like, wait, let me watch it again. Because sometimes your initial reaction of watching something may shift. Because some people were confused. But I went, oh no, that's how I saw it is how I still see it. Which is, hey, I knew you took a knife wound for me. You almost died. And actually, if you saw, he couldn't function for a little bit because he thought his son could die. And then he's like, so I'm just I'll do what you want. You want freedom from me. And that's what he did. Plus, he was in jail, so it doesn't mean in 5 years, I always say this, doesn't mean in 5 years that the father will redeem himself and be different. This could be sequel 2 or whatever, you know what I mean? But that's the hope you have But for now, that was needed. And in order to live the life he wanted, he needed that freedom from that life. So that's to answer that question. And so those are I would say those are my big things I wanted to share. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, and then someone had asked, should they have gone deeper? So in My Sweet Mobster, should the two leads, Una and Jihan, go deeper with their childhood story? I thought they went pretty deep. I was like surprised at how many like things that we saw in the past of their, conversations. It was all in the same age, so child actors were great. But seeing that, I thought it completely made sense. Their age difference was also, I believe, 6 years. So you saw that as well. So I really love that. I do love the childhood trope. I have some people in the industry who are like, I hate that trope. Like, why do they have to have that trope? And I'm like, I do like it. There's something about it that, especially how it's done in My Sweet Mobster, I thought it was very, very sweet. So that trope is needed. Remember, I love tropes. I say they are good for you. It's predictable. You see it play out and it's comfortable. So those tropes are needed for storytelling. Now I'm going to answer some of those other deeper questions. Okay. You guys asked, or somebody asked, does Korean society allow people to have a second chance at life? I was like, whoa, okay. Well, first of all, I can't answer for all Korean society. Number one, I don't live there, don't live within Korean society. I've experienced it, grew up with the culture, so I can I'll share from a therapist perspective. Yes, every society should allow people to have second chances. I mean, this is why, think about it. Perhaps you were giving a second chance. Maybe you took a second chance. Maybe you are looking for a second chance or third chance, fourth chance. It's not just second chance. You can keep changing and, I would say re-transforming yourself again and again. Transformation is not a one-time thing. It's a constant process. So if we believe somebody doesn't deserve a second chance, now let me caution here, depending on what that looks like, what was done beginning, because I'm talking from a neutral perspective. But yeah, if there's some personal things that you cannot forgive or forget, that's different. But I would say, as always, forgiveness should come because you need to forgive on your own. It's not because you're forgiving the person, letting go of everything that person did, by the way. Forgiveness is a whole nother topic. We should talk about that. But it can literally take over and poison somebody. It can. So for your sake, I would say you forgive the other person for your own healing. It's not for their sake. Does that make sense? It's for your sake. So a lot of that is, I'm reframing that because that's super important. But I'm talking about that because people are saying second chance. Do Korean people do that? Now I'm going to say this. Generally speaking, you see a very harsh cancel culture, which I don't like seeing. But I'm going to say, this is why I love generations and I work with different generations. The younger population, technically my kids' age, are moving the needle on that. They are changing things. They're saying, this is not working. This is not what I want to do. I want to live like this. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to talk about mental health. And they're the population that will allow those second chances. So it's shifting, right? Based on just age and what's happening in 2024. Back in the day, in the older population, it wasn't so much like that. And I understand a very different mindset. So nothing is good or bad. Every generation has its own mindset. Sometimes I get stuck in mine. I'm Generation X. I say it's like the coolest generation, but it's the sandwich generation, we understand the young folks because we have them and we're raising them. And then we're also caregiving our older parents, baby boomers and up. So we kind of are stuck, sandwiched in between two perspectives. And that age, Generation X right now, is all about giving back. I'm talking about the different generations. That's a whole nother topic too, but it's super important to understand the psychology between young Gen Zs, older Gen Zs, millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers. And that second chance of life, to go back to my initial answer, any society should allow people to have a second chance in life, right? It depends on what that looks like. So that is the hope. That is the hope. Otherwise, can you imagine society being pretty depressing if people didn't have that, right? And sometimes, just so you know, people are wrongly accused of things or something wrongly happens. You see this all the time in the news when it's blown up, and it's not fair. So of course you're like, those second chances are necessary for someone's own survival. and their own mental health. So I love that question. I think I answered all your questions, and I think I did a pretty. My goal was 30 minutes because I love this K-drama so much. And I'm going to say it again if you're joining it later that as of now it is my number one favorite K-drama from 2024. I remember who did I tell this to? It was a colleague who was very engrossed in K-dramas too. I forget, maybe at one of my book talks, and I haven't said it in public. I'm saying it to you guys first because of all the things I talked about. And because, again, it reminded me, remember nostalgia is pretty powerful. It reminded me of the olden days of K-dramas, like late 90s, early 2000s, you know, when I was watching them and it hit that way. I love all the cheesiness out there. Like, I prefer that actually over like these very sophisticated dramas. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. That reminds, you know, when they were showing these cartoons and they're, you know, showing subscribe and like on the YouTube, you know, isn't that funny? All that stuff they included in this K-drama that I thought was brilliant. So that's why currently it is my top fave. Well, I'm glad I haven't steered you wrong, but it's okay. Because I actually said someone goes, I forget who it was, that was like, okay, Jeannie, I wanted to stop at like episode 7, but because you loved it so much, I kept going. I get it. Actually, episode 7 is a really good episode. That's how much I know this episode. I knew I really liked it probably around episode 2 when I I was thinking in my head, I'm going to go back and rewatch it. I am rewatching bits and pieces. I'm going to use a clip, not in my upcoming book talk because it's too late to change things, but in my upcoming talks in the fall. My Sweet Mobster is going to go in there. It's on Viki, so it's a little bit harder of a platform because not everybody has it, but I'll explain. And again, I don't flavor any platforms. It's just that Netflix happens to have a lot and everybody has access to that. Just saying that out there. But I am so glad that it's on Viki and that people, if you have it, highly recommend. And yeah, it's huge for me to say it's my favorite. I'm trying to think of something else. Now, I want to see if there's any questions here. Oh, yeah, if you don't have Viki, you know, yeah. I think there's a free version of Viki. So you have to sit through commercials. You can do that. But maybe ask somebody for a birthday present. I'm just saying, for like an annual subscription. Because if you heard me say it reminds me of the old school K-dramas, so many old school K-dramas. If you're ever looking to go back to content, 2007 was Coffee Prince. 2007. And on, they're old, some have dated. You'll see the clothes and all that stuff, but the themes are still very much the same. And in fact, back then, I think they showed a little bit more, they were a little bit more progressive depending on what the topic was. I was a little, like, AIDS was in Thank You, a beautiful, beautiful K-drama in 2007. And you'll recognize the leads there. So, like, I keep going back to those. You'll see me go back and forth when I actually need to, I don't know, rejuvenate. And like I gave an example, when I had COVID, I'll go to the old school drama. So I still go prone to what I'm used to, even though I love these new dramas as well. Okay, yes. What else? Anything else? Love the friendship. Okay, that's right. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't mention that. That's it. Brotherhood, the brotherhood of My Sweet Mobster. Isn't it heartwarming to see? That's their chosen family. And I love that they stuck to it. You know, one of my absolute favorite scenes was when Chesu, the oldest guy in the house, who called the female lead Little Rat. So funny. By the way, don't you love the nicknames they have for each other? Because I asked my friends that. I'm like, so can I look at your phone? Do you have like little, you know, in K-dramas they have nicknames for people? And I don't really see it on my friends. I think it's like a K-drama thing because they're like, this is my husband's name. Or sometimes you'll see like, I think I saw Chagia once or something really cute, like honey or baby. But things like that, no. But I don't really see nicknames on people's phones. So I think that's a K-drama thing. Anyways, absolutely love them. And my favorite scene with Chesu, the oldest guy, who talks to Sojuwon in such a, he dropped the honorific because he's older. That tells you something. And I think we knew he was older, but that's the first time we heard him say, you go, I'm older than you. So I'm just speaking to you like this. You have to understand. That was poignant. So what he was trying to do was encourage the male lead at his lowest point, right? When he was worried and thinking, at one point thinking, do I have to go back to this life? Not because he wanted to, but he thought it would protect everybody that he loved, including the female lead. And he's like, no, you can live the life you want to live. And everybody deserves that chance. So what he's saying is everybody deserves a second chance. And I love that he spoke in 반말. So he spoke in complete, as a young person speaking to an older person talking to a young person. Very informal. That's what I'm trying to say. Very informal. So there's beauty in that. And speaking of informality, I know you guys have said you love the honorifics, the 존댓말, the speaking of formality. It sounds nice, but I love the informal talk. I love hearing it in real life. I love when someone switches to me and says it to me, especially in business when I hear like 누나 instead of 대표님. It's so cool. There is a closeness. That's the 정. And you saw that in that moment, but I also loved it between the two leads. So you did notice when she finally realized, I don't know why it took her so long, that he was her childhood friend, or the guy that saved her life basically as a child that we all knew. They switched to the informal talk, which I absolutely love. So I tend to like that. She went to oppa, and he switched to just calling her una, right? And I love that. It's, again, that's the closeness, and probably that's the very Korean thing in me, where I love hearing it in real life, and it sounds cute and very close. When someone says it to you, they're like, oh, can I call you Nuna? I'm like, yeah. Or, isn't that fun? So that's just a side note. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, because he used to call him 형님. Right. I think I know, who is that? Who just said that? I recognize. I think that's Lisa. Is that right? Yeah, he called him 형님, which is really respectful considering he's older. And so I love that. Usually you see someone who's younger call someone CEO, like 대표님, or, 팀장님 or something, but not really 형님. And I thought that's really respectful. And so I think I knew that throughout, but that moment was very poignant when he goes, I need to speak like this to you. I need you to hear me out. And that's why I call you that. Isn't that so precious? Oh my goodness. Okay, so highly recommend. Sorry if I gave any spoilers. Highly recommend for your mental health. Number 1 so far of 2024. I can't imagine anything beating it. Maybe, because that's happened before. But I'm going to close by some meditation with the song. The song is very important. There's beautiful songs on the OST, but I think it's important to close with listening to the music. By the way, you're going to see me next in Austin, Texas. I like being in this office, but I'm not going to be in this office for like 2 weeks. But then I'll be back for 3 weeks. I'm like counting the days when I'm back before I head back to Korea, which of course we're excited about. But it's like, oh my goodness, back to all this craziness. And I look forward to downtime, the 3 weeks leading up to us leaving for Seoul again. And there's going to be some fun stuff, let me tell you. Yeah, so I revealed something cool yesterday. Yeah, I remember some people can't share much about it. Except I can't wait to share more about it. And having a lot of fun. It's actually a huge reason why I was extremely exhausted in the spring, because it took a lot out of me, which, a lot out of me in a good way. And I was learning a lot, and I took notes, guys, of everything I learned. Plus, I have a really good memory, so it's all right here that I can share, because it had a lot to do with my own growth as a therapist, as a Korean American, as a business leader. I'm talking about the reel yesterday of the project I was talking about. So I can't wait to tell you guys more. That said, all right, I'll see you next in